What's up, friends? Welcome to Gear and Go. I am LK, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the age-old debate between two very popular belay devices for climbing, the ATC by Black Diamond and the GRIGRI by Petzl. I've been climbing for several years, and I have spent countless hours using both of these devices in a variety of scenarios. And this video today, whether you're a beginner climber or someone who's been at it for decades, will hopefully provide you with some things to think about as you're comparing the two devices and deciding which of the two or both to add to your gear pack. As a side note, this video is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, and all opinions are my own. This video is not intended to teach you how to use these devices, go to a class, or learn from a professional, but I hope that this video can provide you value in choosing the best belay device for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the ATC by Black Diamond. This device is personally what I learned how to belay on at a gym, and it's pretty standard, pretty universally taught, so almost every climber that you will meet either at the gym or at the crag is going to have one or more of these in their bag. It's reliable, it's pretty inexpensive for climbing gear, and it's a great addition for any beginner or advanced climber to have in their gear pack. It's made by Black Diamond, and it is available for purchase between $25 and $35, depending on if you buy it as a pack with a carabiner or if you buy one of these guys separately, which you will need. This video is not about carabiners and the different types, but as a side note, I personally have a screw gate on here as opposed to a twist gate carabiner. It's just personal preference for me, and it's what I have. So let's talk about some of the pros of the ATC. Like I mentioned, it's really universal, so it's going to be easy to pick one of these up at REI, online, at your local outdoor store, and generally most climbers that you are going to meet at the gym or outside somewhere will have one of these in their pack. A lot of gyms will teach you how to belay in a class with an ATC, and many of them will make you test for top rope or lead belay with an ATC. So regardless of whether it's your personal preference or not of belay device, it's really important to be able to use one of these and feel comfortable and safe handling a climber as a belayer using an ATC. A couple other notes about it: if you care about pack weight, whether you're going out on a multi-day adventure or you're just trying to optimize things, which is a whole other game, it's super lightweight, comes in at only 64 grams minus the carabiner, and it fits a wide range of rope sizes, anywhere between 7.7 millimeters and 11 millimeters, so you can't get much better than that. And as for getting rope through in and out, it's pretty easy to do since there's nothing blocking the rope from moving here. I have found this to be especially important in lead belaying when my climber makes a big move and all of a sudden needs some more slack. It's really easy to just throw some up to them. So that being said, the ATC is a really great device with a lot of pros. Now let's talk about the cons of the ATC. There's really only one major complaint that I hear from climbers either at the gym or online, and that is the fact that this device is a fully manual belay device, meaning that you have no assistance in braking like you have with the GRIGRI, which we will get into in a minute. This really comes down to personal preference and your own personal risk tolerance, and especially thinking about the specific scenarios that you will be climbing in. If you trust your belayer and you guys have been climbing for a while, you feel comfortable and safe with this guy, then it's a really great option. If you feel like you need that extra safety, then maybe the next device we talk about, the GRIGRI, will be for you. One other thing to note about the ATC is that there are different types. This, for example, is the ATC XP, which is the standard one that I see most people have, but there are other ones like the Alpine ATC and the ATC Guide that you can look into if you want. This video is not going to cover those. Now let's talk about the GRIGRI by Petzl. I personally learned how to use this device a few years ago when some friends of mine were teaching me how to lead climb at the gym. It's pretty easy to use, and it's definitely grown in popularity over the last few years, especially as more and more people are starting to pick up climbing for the first time. It is made by Petzl, like I said, and it's available for purchase for around $100 for the standard version or $130 for the plus version, which includes an anti-panic handle. Now, I am only going to discuss the standard version as I've actually never used the GRIGRI Plus before, and I don't own one. Now let's talk about the pros of the GRIGRI. The number one selling point for the GRIGRI is, of course, the assisted braking feature. Note that you'll sometimes hear people call this an auto braking feature. It's really important to note that it is not an auto braking feature, and it is not a replacement for foundational techniques like always keeping a hand on the brake rope and very carefully watching your climber, not getting distracted. And ultimately, you are still responsible for their safety, even with the assisted braking. That being said, the way that this device works, I won't get into excruciating detail, but there's a cam in here that blocks the rope and pinches it, keeps it from going in or out of the device. And that's how it assists in braking or in things like taking a fall. As a belayer, it's pretty smooth to use. The mechanism for descent control is pretty nice, especially when there's a significant weight difference in belayer and climber. And overall, it's pretty easy to hold, pretty comfortable in your hand. Another note about the GRIGRI, a lot of gyms are starting to move towards teaching this in belay classes or even requiring all climbers to use it while at the gym. I've heard mixed feelings about this shift from other climbers, but for me personally, it is not a deal breaker in a gym. If they want me to use a GRIGRI, I'll use a GRIGRI. Let's talk about some cons for the GRIGRI. The number one complaint usability-wise that I hear from climbers is that getting slack out of the rope can be a little bit more difficult, especially in lead climbing. I personally don't notice much of a difference, but it's personal preference in the way that it feels to give and take rope, so it's something to consider, and you definitely want to try it out before making the plunge. Another thing to note is that if you care about pack weight, this guy is a lot heavier than the ATC, coming in at 175 grams without the carabiner. Additionally, the rope size range is a bit smaller. It's only 8.9 to 10.5 millimeters recommended, so definitely check your own rope size. If you're at an average gym, you should be fine, shouldn't have any issue there. Finally, the other downside to note is that it is significantly more expensive, so if you're optimizing your pack for budget constraints, you have to think about whether the additional safety features of the assisted braking is worth the $100 or $130, depending on which version you get. So a final comparison. You know a little bit about each of these devices now, and when you're thinking about which one you should purchase, keep in mind that the ATC by Black Diamond is lighter, cheaper, and generally more standardized, but it lacks the assisted braking features and the extra safety of the GRIGRI by Petzl. So when you're thinking about these two devices, definitely learn both, become familiar with both, try them from other people, and then think about all the factors and take the plunge. Personally, I keep one of each in my climbing bag and I use them for different scenarios. I prefer the ATC for an all-around climbing device, but for lead climbing, I actually prefer the GRIGRI. Again, personal preference, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below and which device you prefer. That being said, for more adventure tips and gear reviews, please like and subscribe to Gear and Go. And until next time, rock on!